Hello, and welcome to the third and final video in the series on burning an audio CD from an internet video on a Mac. This section is going to deal with how editing the audio file, and there are a couple of reasons why you might need to edit the audio file. I've mentioned a couple times in the previous videos that if the video is and the audio that we extract in that video is longer than 90 minutes, it won't fit on one CD. And in that case, you would either want to, cut things out of it, stick stuff out of the video to make, out of the audio file to make it short enough, less than 90 minutes, or you would want to split it in half, split it in parts so that you could put it on more than one CD. So we use a tool called Audacity as an audio editor to do this stuff. And this video is to show you how to do that, how to install Audacity and how to use it to do the kinds of things that you would need to do with these audio files that you might download from a video. So again, I will remind you that this desktop is very large, and if you're watching this on your desktop, you may want to make sure this video is as large as possible. Use the full screen capability in YouTube, and also pick the highest quality video that you can, so that you can see all the detail and you can read things on the screen. Also, I again will apologize for the noise, the breakup in this video. That's an artifact of the way I'm running this Mac. I don't actually own a Mac, so I have to run this as a virtual machine, and that causes the video to be a little noisy. But hopefully it will be clear enough and for you to follow along and see all the things I'm doing, and be able to then repeat those things on your Mac. I've provided again a wiki page where you can get additional detail for this. There's a link on on this particular video we're going to use from that wiki page to download the Audacity software and get it installed. So you may want to access this wiki page. If you came to this video through the YouTube interface, then you can find a link to this wiki page in the description underneath this video. That'll bring you to this page. Looks like here. It looks like this up at the top, but we're down on the third video, which is the last one on the page. So that's where we'll start. So let's get to it. So the first thing to do in this process is to get Audacity installed onto your Mac. And I've, like I said, provided the link over here, which I will zoom in on so you can see it better. And this is the link to go get the Audacity software and install it on your Mac. So I'll zoom back out and click on that link. It will check my browser here to make sure I'm not a robot, and then take me to that website. And there's a big blue button right here in the middle that says download Audacity, so we'll click on that. And it asks us which version of Audacity we want. We want the one for the Mac OS, so we'll click on that. And then down in the middle of the page here is the link to the DMG file, the disk image file that we need to download to do the install. So we'll click on that link for that DMG file, and that actually takes us to another page where we have to click this link to get to the Audacity macOS DMG. So this is the actual file. This will actually cause the download to happen. But of course, since this is the first time I've gone to this web page and tried to download something, Safari is going to ask me if I really want to do that. Should I allow downloads from this web page? And I'm going to say yes, allow this, and then the file will download here into my download basket down here in my dock. And so I can click on this downloads basket icon, and I can see that in there I now have an Audacity macOS DMG disk image file. And when I click on that, several things will happen. There'll be this little progress dialog here that shows it opening. Then there'll be an icon in the upper right-hand corner of my desktop for the DMG file, and then it will actually open this window on my desk for me to do the install. And the way I do the install is I simply drag this set of blue headphones here, which is the Audacity app, over, and I drop it on the applications folder, and that will install it on my laptop, or excuse me, on my Mac, I should say. So a little progress dialog and a little bit of a system noise there, a little bong noise to let me know that that's now finished. So that's it. Audacity is now installed. It's pretty much that simple. So I will close this install window. I will come over here and I will right click on this DMG file, and I will pick the entry here on the menu that appeared to eject that Audacity 241 DMG file from my desktop. So it goes away, it disappears, and then I will come down here to my download basket and open that up again, click on it to open it, and I will drag and drop this DMG file from there into the trash because I don't need that anymore. I don't want to leave the clutter behind on my excuse me, I keep saying laptop, on my Mac. That basically finishes the install process. And so we're now ready to work with some audio. So in the previous videos, I've shown you how to use various tools to download audio from an internet video. And I've got an internet video here that was one of the ones that you told me you wanted to download and put on CD. I can see, this is in Facebook. Let me close this little window here for starters. I can see just by looking at the time here in Facebook that this is a 2 hour and 13-minute video. So I know right now this is not going to fit on one CD. Remember, a CD only holds 90 minutes of audio. So when after I've downloaded this, I'm going to need to do some work with it to get it onto CD. So I will go through I will do the download process here, just like I did in the first video. I will right click on the video itself. There's a link here that says show the video URL. So I will click on that. And when I zoom back out, I will see that that's opened up a little window up there at the top that has the URL for the video in it. So I will click on that to turn it blue, and I will hit Command C to copy that URL onto my clipboard. And now I'm going to start up the 4K video downloader software, just like I did in the first video that you've watched, and do the download. So the way I start things is I click on Launchpad. I then type in the first few characters of the program name, 4K video downloader, and I just hit enter, and that will start the program. And there's 4K video downloader. And if you remember from the first video, all I need to do to put that URL that I just put on my clipboard into video downloader is to click this green plus button here. So I'll click on that. It will put that video in there and bring up this little window that says, what do I want to do with that video? I want to extract the audio. I want it to be an MP3 file when I'm done. I want original quality, whatever comes out of the video itself. And I hit the extract button. And it will now go off, and it will do the extract process. It goes across once quickly to get the file itself and the video file, and then it runs a second process to actually take the audio out of that file and put it in the MP3 file for me. That runs quite a bit more slowly, but we just have to wait for it to finish. So we'll do that. We'll wait. Okay, now we're finished. That took a couple of minutes, but we've got an MP3 file now on our Mac that has all the audio from that video that we picked there on Facebook. And if you remember from the first video that I showed you, that I made for you, you can click on these three dots over here to get a menu, and click on the Show in Finder selection on the menu to actually see that file that we just got in the Finder. So let me zoom back out here so you can see the whole thing. And there's that file in the Finder. So when this was just a short file and we were able to burn it to CD, we went straight from here and we went and burned it. But we're not going to be able to do that because this, if you remember just from a second ago, is 2 hours and 13 minutes long, and that's not going to fit on one CD all by itself. So we're going to have to split it in half at a minimum. We might want to, edit it up a little bit too, get rid of some of the extra parts of the file that we don't need, like there's some silence at the beginning that we'll see, and that sort of thing. So we can do a little bit of cleanup to make this just a little bit shorter too. The way we get this started, though, is we do right-click on this. And if you remember last time when we did this, we opened it in Music, which is right here, or in your case in iTunes. But we have a new choice on this menu now, Audacity, which is the editor. So we can, since we have to edit this, we can open this file in the editor right from here. So we click Open With, and then we click Audacity. Let me zoom in a little bit here so you can see that a little bit better. Okay? So instead of using Music, we're going to use Audacity. So we'll click on that and zoom back out. And since this is the first time we've used Audacity, it's going to check the file and make sure that this is a good file, doesn't have any viruses or anything like that, and it's going to say, hey, you just downloaded this from the internet. Are you really sure you want to open it and run it? And we're going to say yes. We're going to click on the word open here to open that up. And that's a one-time thing. That won't happen again. So that's just the first time we use Audacity. Now, for some reason I don't understand, Audacity is opened up behind the Finder window. The Finder window is still on top. So I'm going to click on the Audacity window here and open it up. And you can see that it's in the process now of importing that MP3 file into Audacity. Audacity only works on files that are in WAV format. So anything that it brings in or writes back out again, it has to do this conversion for. So this file that we downloaded was an MP3 file. So what it's doing right now is it's bringing that file in, and in the process, it's converting it into the format that it can use, which is called WAV, W-A-V. So we'll wait for that to finish. There's a nice little timer here that tells us it's only got 14 seconds left to go. And so we'll wait for those 14 seconds. Okay, so it's done. So I can click this little OK button here, by the way, to make this little message, this notification, go away and disappear. That will make my screen a little cleaner. Also, I should mention I have used this program before, so it remembers how big I made the screen, or made its window last time. When I started it the first time, it looked like this. I'll make it look like it looked the first time. So this is what it came up like the first time I used it. So it's pretty small, and as you saw, this is a 2-hour audio file, and this is the audio here laid out. And this is 2 hours long. See, it starts at 0 here on the timeline and goes all the way to 2 hours and 15 minutes. So, sound is squeezed in pretty well. So what I did was I moved this window over to the left, and then I grabbed the lower right-hand corner down here, and I drug that across to give me some more width. And then there are 2 buttons up here that control the zooming in and zooming in. Well, there's several buttons up here. There's 4 buttons actually that control the zooming in and zooming out, so that I can zoom in on the audio or zoom out. And this last one here has the pop-up that says Fit Project to Width. And so what that will do is it will make the whole project, the file I'm working with, fit the width of the window, so I can see the whole thing as big as possible within that window. There are other buttons here like this one which will zoom in, so I can click and zoom in on that audio, so I'm seeing less and less and less of the time, but I'm seeing more and more detail about what the audio looks like. And likewise, there's a button next to it to zoom out, so I can zoom back out again to where I was. That's where I started, or I can zoom out even beyond where I started and then zoom back in again. So I can play with these. And then there's two buttons over here, one we can't use right now, which is called Fit the Selection in the window. We haven't made a selection yet. We'll do that in a second. I'll show you how that works. But the other one is, get me back to this view of the whole file, the whole audio. So that's the zooming part. So what we see here are the left and right channels. Excuse me, the left channels on top and the right channels on the bottom of a stereo recording. If what you happen to download was a mono recording, you would only see one of these rows here. But since this is a stereo recording, we see two. And so these are the left and right channels of the stereo. And we can see what's called the waveform. The dark blue squiggles here are the actual audio. The size of the squiggle, the height of the squiggle indicates how loud that section of the audio is. So if you look at this part right here, that's pretty quiet. If you look at this part over here, that's louder. Okay, so that's how you visualize this. So if you're looking for quiet parts of the audio, like silence and things like that, you look for things that are small. Like if I look out here at the end, I can see things that are almost a line. So there's some silence out here at the beginning of this audio file that I want to get rid of, and that's what I've been talking about. Is there, oftentimes when people start or end recordings, they'll leave blank space at the beginning or the end of it. And if you have that on your CD, that means you have to sit there and listen to that silence for a while before the music starts. And that's kind of annoying, at least to me. So what I want to do is I want to get rid of that silence at the beginning of this file. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use my mouse and I'm going to click and drag. So that will select the audio. That's what I was doing here when I was making these little white sections. I put my cursor where I want to start, right there. I hold down my mouse button and I drag the mouse across until I've got the section that I want to work on highlighted like that. And that's when I can then go over here to this Fit Selection to Window to Width button. So this little button here called Fit Selection to Width will take what I've selected in white there and it will make it fill the whole screen. So when I click on this, it's going to blow that little white section on the left up to fill the whole width of this window. So watch, boom. Now I'm seeing that little bit that I had highlighted at the beginning is that whole width of the screen. And it's highlighted. You can see it's still light colored. And I can see now much more detail about the sound that's in here. And so I can see that right here at the beginning, this whole section here, there's a lot of silence, a lot of nothing. And so I might want to get rid of that. Now, if I want to listen to this before I do something with it, I can listen to it and I can pick the spots, the cut points, or the point in the audio where I want to start removing or stop removing, where I can find where the music starts, and I can mark that. So the way you start playing is you just move your cursor up here till it turns to a little hand, and a little green triangle appears above it. See that little hand? And the little green triangle, and I can slide that along here on the timeline, and as soon as I click, it'll start playing. So I'm going to click, and now it starts playing. And I can see the audio up here, and this is, almost silent, so it's really hard to hear, but I'll zoom back out here. And it'll just keep playing until I come over here to the left and I push the stop button. So it'll just keep playing. Now I can start to hear somebody playing a guitar, getting ready, So this is the way that you can, while you're in the editor, listen to the audio, to use your ears to help you find the spots where you want to make your cuts.
Hey, good evening.
So there he starts to talk.
Right? We got some people out already. Yeah, look who's out.
So let's just assume that that's where I want to start my audio. That's where I want my CD to start. It's when he starts talking. So I'll come back here and I'll do that again. I'll play over that again and find that exact spot where he starts talking.
Hey, good evening.
There it is, right there. So I'm going to hit stop again.
Right? We got some.
It was right there on that little blob of blue. Right there is his first word. So I'm going to get rid of everything in front of that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use the cursor, the mouse again, to select all the audio that's in front of that little blob. So I'm going to click right in front of it, and then I'm going to drag my cursor all the way over here to the left. Okay, now I've selected everything just before he starts talking. And I'm going to hit the delete button now. When I hit the delete button, all that stuff that's in light blue or white is going to go away. It's going to be deleted. And the audio will start right where he starts talking. So here we go. I'm going to hit the delete key. See? It all went away, and here's his first word now, right? Just before, remember I marked just before he started talking. That's his first word. And so I can push play now.
Hey, good evening.
And see that right at the beginning is
right.
He starts
got
talking.
Some people out already.
So that's how you edit the video. That's how you find stuff in the video, in the audio, audio file, in the MP3 file that you want to remove. And you can just do that over and over and over again in this audio file, taking out the parts that you don't want. So let's do another example. Let's zoom out and see the whole file again. Remember, we zoomed in, and this little button up here will say, if I point at it, will say fit the project to width. That shows me the whole file. So when I zoom out and I click on that, I now see the whole file again. That's the beginning to the whole end, the 2 hours and 15 minutes of audio. I can see the whole thing. So let's go find the break between a song. Here's some loud stuff that goes quiet. So that's probably them ending the song. So let's click right there and drag across this way to right there, because that's the section we want to examine closely. We want to have a closer look at that. So we're going to zoom in on it. So again, we're going to use this button up here that says fit the selection to the width of the screen. See, it says fit selection to width. So that's going to take that white area and blow it up to fill the whole width of this window. See, boom, there it blew it all up. So now we're just looking at the part that we had highlighted in white, and we can listen to it. Let's listen to it.
You're gonna ruin me, baby, and I won't be me no more. No. Oh, well. You're gonna ruin me, baby, and I won't be me no more. Say what? That sounds good, bro. Yeah, man, I believe. All right. Well, man, you know, look, all of us, we got all these things going on in our lives and what's happening, you know, and I know everybody's been doing their thing, you know, and that's just something else. Chris, what's been happening during quarantine?
Oh, bro? Man, let me tell you, my dog's real happy about it.
Right?
He's like, wow, you're home a lot more. That's cool.
I know, right?
So, yeah, you know.
Okay, so we can see that is, you know, where they ended the song and they start talking. You know, we might want to, you know, cut that somewhere in there. I don't know exactly where. Let's just play it again.
Oh, well. You're gonna ruin me, baby, and I won't be me no more. Say what? That sounds good, bro. Yeah, man, I believe. All right. Well,
okay, let's just cut it right after he says all right. So if you see this little bit right here, that little peak right in the middle there, that little bit of audio right there is the word all right. So we're going to remember where that is, and we'll come back to it in a minute. But we need to find the other end. We need to find where we want to start back up again. So let's go over here. It looks like, you know, we're starting to get more noise over here. It gets louder. So this is probably them starting another song over here. So let's go over here and listen to this part.
And it is really good to see a lot of love out there, y'all. And so cool, you know. All right. Well, let's do something else, Chris. Let's do something nice for these folks. You know, what you want to play? What you feel like playing?
Play some of that good soul music, huh?
All right, some soul.
Okay, well, it seems like he started that song right there, right
Love
in
and
between.
happiness.
So that's where he started the song, is right there.
Love and
So let's stop the playback.
happiness.
All right, and let's click right on that little gap there between where that song started, right there, and drag across all the way back to where he said all right, and that was right there. So okay, so now we've selected the part that we want to take out, and remember, the way we take it out is we hit the delete key. That makes this go away. And so I've picked the part that I want to make go away, and I just hit delete, and it goes away. So now I can come back here and check my work. Let's play the last
And it
play
won't
this.
be me no more. Say what? That sounds good, bro. Yeah, man, I believe. All right.
And you can see I just edited out the stuff that was in between, so it goes right from one song to the next.
Love and happiness.
So that's one way that you could, by doing that over and over again, you could go through this entire audio file and you could take out the parts that are just talking or silence or what have you in between songs, and that would make the overall audio file a lot shorter. And if you were lucky, you might get it short enough to fit on one CD. But, you know, this is some work. You have to, spend some time to do this. So it takes a while. And I'm not going to do this to the whole file. I'm going to assume, because I want to show you how to do this, that we weren't able to make this short enough to fit on one CD. We have to split it into two parts and burn those two parts onto two CDs. So I'm going to assume that we finished all of our editing work. Now we've done everything we can, and we're going to look at the whole file. So I'm going to fit the project to the width of the screen. So I look at the whole thing and I see, oh, it's still more than 2 hours long. So I need to split it somewhere. It'd be nice to split it around an hour or so. So I can see in the timeline up here that this is the hour point right in here. And it looks like actually then it aligns pretty well with maybe what might be the start of a song. So let's see if that's true. Let's zoom in on this portion. So first I'm going to select a little area, and then I'm going to use the fit selection to width button up here to zoom in on that. And I can see, oh yeah, there's some looks like talking here, and maybe this might be the start of a new song. And there's actually a part right there that's silent. So let's just start playing right here and see what that sounds like. See what's going on.
And that's the dealio, baby-o. You know? Oh, yeah. Let's do, I was thinking, I want to do this. My girls love hearing this. So I want to do a teeny weeny bit for these kids out there,
Okay, well, that sounds like a good start to a song here. So let's split it
Well,
right about there.
I was thinking, I want to do this.
We'll make that our split point right there.
So I want to do a teeny
So let's
weeny bit
stop
for these
this.
kids out there,
And let's come down here and just put our cursor right there and put a line, click on it once. Just click to make a little divider line there. That's a little marker. So that's going to be our dividing point. The stuff on the left is going to be part one of this and CD number 1. The stuff on the right of that line is going to be part 2, CD number 2. So what we need to do is we need to select everything that's to the left of that line and write it into a file. And then we need to come back and we need to select everything that's to the right of that line and put it in a different file. So the way we do this is there's a keyboard press that you can use to select everything from the line that we just made. We click there to make that line. That will select everything to the left of that line. So that keyboard press is Shift J. So if I hold down the Shift key and I click J, it will pick everything from that line, that dividing line I put in there, all the way to the beginning of the file, all the way to the left. And I can now export that stuff that I've selected as its own MP3 file. I can make MP3 file number 1 out of that stuff that is highlighted in white. And so the way I do that is I come up here to the file selection on the menu bar for Audacity, and I'll zoom in on this. So there's a file word, the word file up here. I click on that. Whoops, click on that, and I go down, float down here to export, and I want to export that stuff as an MP3 file, because remember that's the format of the files that we're working with here. We'll burn these MP3 files on the CDs when we're done. There are other formats here that I could use, WAV and OGG and things like that, but I'm not going to use those. I'm going to export as an MP3. So I'm going to click on that, and it'll bring up a box. I have to zoom back out again. It'll bring up a box asking me what name do I want to give that MP3. So if I click in here, right now it's just called Chris, and that's the same name as the file that I have now. And so I don't want to overwrite the file I have now. I want to call it something that will be, Chris 1 or Chris Part 1 or something like that. So I'm just going to type in here a dash and a 1 after Chris to say this is Chris Part 1. And it's also asking me what folder do I want to put this in. I can put it in any folder I want, but it defaults to documents, and I just use that. I just let it default. I basically let everything else in this box default. It's going to be an MP3 file, obviously. That's what I said I wanted. I have, I can then work on these things down here, which would change the quality of the audio. But, as it says here, this is standard quality. So I'm just going to let it be. I'm not going to mess with any of the things that are down here in this gray box, this format options box. I'm just going to give it a new name. That's the only thing I'm going to do. Call it Chris 1, and then I'm going to click Save. And this is going to take a little while. Oops, sorry, there's an intermediate step in here. If you remember MP3s, have information about song titles and all that sort of stuff, who's singing, that sort of thing. And you can fill all this in if you want to, but it's not going to show up on your CD, so I wouldn't bother. I would just leave it. I don't know why this is in Chinese. This is something that came out of the MP3 that we downloaded from the internet. Apparently somebody just left some garbage in that MP3, and there's really no point in changing any of this. So I'm just going to slide this up a little bit so I can see the fact that there's an OK button down here. I'm just going to leave this alone, not do anything on this screen. Just say OK. Now it's going to go do the export. It's going to take the audio that we've selected in light blue here, or white, and it's going to export it as its own MP3 file called Chris1 MP3. And it's going to take a little while, like I said. It's going to take, it shows you here, it's going to take another 2 minutes and 9 seconds until it finishes. So there'll be a little bit of a wait here. So we'll wait until it's done. Okay, so now it's finished, and our first MP3 for our first CD has now been saved in our Documents folder called Chris1 MP3. So what we need to do now is select everything that's to the right of the dividing line and put it in a second file. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to click my mouse right here, right next to the white area. Not when I turn, see it's turned to a little hand. Let me zoom in on this so we can see it better. So if I move it too far to the left, it turns to a little finger. And I don't want the little finger. I want to just scooch it to the right far enough so it turns to the little eye bar there, like that. And now I'm going to click with my left mouse button, click. And I'm going to now select everything to the right of that. So I want to now get everything that's on the other end of the file and export that to the second file. So I took the beginning and I put it in Chris1. I'm going to take the end, the last hour or so, and put it in Chris2. So I'm going to use Shift K to select everything from that line to the right. So when I hit Shift K, it selects everything to the right of the line. So Shift J to the left selects everything to the left. Shift K selects everything to the right. If we had a regular PC and weren't working on a Mac, that would be Shift Home and Shift End. It would make more sense. The words would make more sense, but a Mac keyboard does not have home and end buttons. So we have to use J and K as our buttons. But anyway, I've selected everything to the right. I'm going to zoom back out here so you can see a little bit more. There we go. I've selected everything on the right-hand side, and now I'm going to do the same process that I just did a minute ago to export this audio into a second file. So I'm going to come up here to the File drop-down menu. I'm going to go down to Export. I'm going to export as MP3 and click that. And now I'm going to call this file Chris2. So let me zoom in on this. So my first one is Chris1. This one's going to be Chris-2. So now I'm going to put it in my Documents folder. It's an MP3 file, and I'm not going to mess with any of this. I just click Save. And I'm not going to mess with any of this. I just click OK. And now it starts writing that file to disk. And again, this is going to take a little over 2 minutes to finish. So we'll wait for this one. All right, and that one's finished now. So now we have our 2 MP3 files saved away. One which contains the first half of the concert, and the second contains the second half. And so we're done with the editing. We're all finished editing the file. We don't need to save anything else. So we can just close this Audacity application and throw everything away that we've done. We don't need to save it. So when it says, do we want to save the changes to Chris, we say no, and just throw everything away. There's our original Chris file. It's the same as when we downloaded it from the internet. We didn't change it. What we did do was we saved 2 new files called Chris1 and Chris2 in our Documents folder. So we can see the Documents folder right here in Finder. There's our Documents folder. So if we click on that, we'll see now there's a Chris1 and a Chris2 MP3 files in the Documents folder. And those are the ones we created, the first half of the concert and the second half. So each one of these goes on its own CD. So you're going to burn twice. You're going to burn number 1 first, and then you're going to come back and you're going to burn number 2. And the process is exactly the same as it was in the first 2 videos. I've done this twice in both the earlier 2 videos, so I'm not going to repeat again. You right-click on this, pick one, right-click on it, and open it in Music, and go ahead and do the burning, right? And then when you're all done with that, you come back to the same place, and you do the same thing with the other one. You right-click on it, you open it with Music, and you burn it, right? Put it in a playlist and burn it on CD. So you've seen me do that twice already. I'm not going to do it a third time. So this is basically the end of this lesson. Showed you how to use the Audacity editor to do 2 things: to clean up the audio a little bit, take out the parts that we didn't want, and then and then split the video in 2 parts so that we could fit a long, I keep saying video, I'm sorry, audio. Split the audio into 2 parts so that we could fit a long audio file on 2 different CDs and have a 2-part concert. So this is everything basically that I think you need to know in order to be able to handle downloading audio off the internet and getting it onto CD. Of course, you're working with MP3 files in the middle here. You could stop at any point and say, I don't want to put this on CD. I just want to take this MP3 and put it on my iPod. So you could do that at any point along the way, obviously, if you want to. You don't have to take it all the way to CD. But now you've got everything you need to know as to how to download audio from the internet and get it on CDs. So I hope this was useful. Enjoy.